appreciate his leadership here in the county and also on the CD board. As Ryan mentioned, the 1st Congressional District is made up of 21 counties from South Dakota to Wisconsin. And I'm a volunteer, just like all of you. I volunteer my time to elect Republicans. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the Freeborn County Republicans for all the work that you do in electing and re-electing Republicans. Why don't you give yourselves a hand, please? So as Ryan states, my job is to be a liaison for the BPOUs, and our main job is to elect a congressman from the 1st District. And it's been my honor to work with Jim Hagedorn for these 2 cycles, and I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that Jim Hagedorn is the hardest working congressional candidate in the United States. I believe that. I've seen him work. And because he's out in the district with the constituents of the 1st Congressional District, Jim knows what the 1st District residents want, what they don't want, what they need, and what they don't need. And what we know for certain is they do not need another Tim Walz term. At our 1st District Convention in Mankato in May, our convention unanimously supported Jim Hagedorn for endorsement. And across the district, Republicans are united behind Jim. And if you've had any opportunity to visit with Jim or see him at any forums, he was recently at FarmFest, you will know that there's not a candidate that has a better grasp on the issues, whether it's defense, economic, international issues, foreign policy. Jim knows those issues, and he knows how they impact the 1st District. And so I ask all of you, I know that everybody's busy, and you've already volunteered a lot, but if there's any opportunity that you have to help Jim Hagedorn, we have to win this seat. This is Jim's 2nd time around, so his name recognition, high to begin with, has continued. The name recognition has continued to climb in this 2nd time around, and he has devoted his life full time to doing this, running for this race. And so I ask you to do all that you can to help Jim win this seat for us. And it's my honor now to introduce Jim Hagedorn, my friend and our candidate. Jim?
Thanks very much, Jim. Everybody hear me okay? We good? Jim Hagedorn of Woodworth, it's a pleasure to be here. And as many of you know, we just had a nice primary victory the other day, and I want to thank you for your votes and your support. And a lot of the media people have been asking what's different this time around, because as Carol said, in 2014, we were on the ballot. We held most of 54-46 result, even though we spent very little money, and we did most of it through a lot of hard work. And I said, well, a lot of things have changed. And as Carol said, the 1st District Republicans were unified, we're energized, we're ready to win this seat back. We have BPOUs, as we call them, county organizations like Freeborn, and I do appreciate the work of Brian and everyone, and of course, your fine state representative, Peggy Bennett, for all that you do to bring the party together and to work hard. We got a nice result here in Freeborn County. And as you said as well, I promise you to stop this is great. 21 counties in the district. So sometimes when you're running against an incumbent congressman, they have a lot of advantages, and you have to start busting down those advantages. And one way to do it is that you take more than one cycle on the ballot to get your name out there a little bit, let people be more familiar with you. Organizing all the 21 counties across the district, we're doing that. So we're in a very advantageous position. Today we had an endorsement interview for the Farm Bureau. And I talked a lot about Colin Peters, because when I worked on Capitol Hill, he ran against my old boss 4 times in a row. So I hope to do this just 2 times in a row. We'll get her done. John Klein ran 3 times in a row. So sometimes it's as a challenger to take some. So they said, what else is different? I said, well, you know what's different? The issues of this campaign have finally caught up with my issue positions. The issues of this campaign that are resonating nationally got caught up with Tim Walz's record, and that record is starting to bite him a little bit. If you think back just 2 years, ISIS wasn't even an issue. It was about a month before the election that President Obama made a speech to the nation about how he was going to combat ISIS, what he was going to do to win. Obviously, that didn't go so well. But Islamic terrorism, the whole idea of the threat of national security, it really wasn't where it is. But it is this time. And we've been running on that for years, letting people know that extremists, supremacists from countries that hate us are a problem, and we need to protect our country. Now, Tim Walz is going to have to admit he has a problem. Because in 10 years in office, he hasn't addressed this. He hasn't brought it up. He's one of those liberals that refuses to even identify our enemy as radical Islam. He's somebody that supported open borders. He supported the Obama program to bring in almost 1 million people from countries that hate America to America. And now in Minnesota, we have a terrorist recruiting problem because of that. Congressman Walz is so liberal on this issue that he votes continuously to close Guantanamo Bay. And then bring the prisoners into the United States, he says, for civilian trials. One time a reporter from Rochester asked him, well, Congressman, where are those Islamic terrorists going to end up in the United States? And he said, well, they end up over in Rochester's Federal Medical Center. That'll be okay, but the professionals there can handle it. Can you believe that? A United States Congressman invited the Islamic terrorists into his district. I don't know who Walz thinks is going to visit those characters, but it won't be Billy Graham or Pope. It's going to be some of the worst people in the world. Tim Walz is wrong about all of this. This is an important election in this campaign. We are at war with Islamic supremacists who adhere to the radical ideology, diversion of Islam. We need to protect America's borders, secure America's borders, not call for a refugee program timeout, because the United States and Minnesota has this terrorist recruiting problem from existing refugees. And when it comes to the Islamic terrorists down in Guantanamo Bay, we shouldn't be bringing them into the United States and giving them civilian trials and Miranda rights. We should be giving them the last rights in defending our country. Another key issue that's really shifted in just the last 2 years is the economy. A couple of years ago, people felt that the economy was kind of doing okay. The farmers were still hanging in there. That has changed, unfortunately, for the worse. The farm economy is tight. Commodity prices are low. The input costs are still relatively high. Exports are down. Demand is down. There are all sorts of reports out there that farmers, especially in the dairy industry, are facing bankruptcy and tough times. And I tell people, and we said this at Farm Fest, we said it today with the Farm Bureau, farmers understand the ups and downs of agriculture. I myself grew up on a farm over by Truman. My dad, grandfather, great-grandfather, all Minnesota, southern Minnesota farmers. They get that agriculture's up and down. But what they don't get is why is their rural congressman going to Washington and voting for all these big Obama programs to drive up their costs, harass them, and try to send them out of business? Walz is out there voting for, hey, and this is, first of all, Obamacare. You go across this district and farmer after farmer will tell you it's one of their biggest costs now. $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 for premiums. With deductibles so high, the underlying insurance is virtually worthless. Walz told everybody, hey, I'm voting for this Obamacare, but I do. You're going to save $2,500 a year. You're going to be able to keep your doctor. You're going to be able to keep your plan. And then he said he'd live under just like you. Well, that's a lie. But I told you there's good news. If you don't like your current liberal congressman, you don't have to keep your current liberal congressman. And then you get into these areas like regulation. And any farmer will tell you, driving up costs, small business people, the same deal. Regulations coming out of Washington, especially the EPA, a big problem. So the Republicans had a bill, and they said, you know what we should do? We should make sure that the Congress has to approve major regulations rather than letting Obama and the EPA do it. Tim Walz voted no. I support that bill. It's called the REINS Act. Colin Peterson supported that bill. We'll get those things done. Then we need to reform welfare. We need to make sure we have energy independence using the resources God gave us to put downward pressure on price build those pipelines, refineries, distribution points. If we do these things, we can create economic growth, high-wage jobs, and we can send down the cost of living for people. That's what we stand for. The last thing, we'll talk just about two quick things. Veterans. Tim Walls is a veteran. He served in the National Guard. I honor and respect his service. But I think we have to be honest. Since he's been in Washington, D.C., the veterans are worse off today than they went out there 10 years ago. And there's a couple of solutions that I support that he opposes. One is, if a veteran is abused or anything by a member of the VA, the bureaucracy, then that VA bureaucrat should be fired within 30 or 60 days, not 700 or 800 like it takes now. Walls voted no on that bill. It's called the VA Accountability Act of 2015, and he said he voted no because it was a right-to-work issue for the VA bureaucrats. I'm not making that up. No, it was a right-to-life issue for our veterans, so that's a big difference. The other thing is that every veteran in this country should have the option of choosing their own doctors, going to the hospital of their choice, whether that's in the VA system or the private sector. Tim Walz opposes that, as he says it would be bad for VA. He's got some explaining to do over there. We're on the offense on a key issue of his that he thinks is going to be a benefit to this, but we have better ideas, we have better solutions. And lastly, I'm going to sum up by this, and I appreciate your patience. This is a critical election. If we lose this election and not make big bold reforms in Washington, I believe that we're going to lose the country as the forefathers put it together. And the congressman's been out for 10 years, moving the country to the left. We don't need to transform America, we need to transform our government. People talk all the time about, well, I can't vote for a certain candidate or whatever. The press loves to ask me about Donald Trump. They never asked Tim Walz about Hillary Clinton, even though he's one of her superdelegates. And I don't care. You know, we're going to run with Mr. Trump. We're going to win this election. There's a big contrast between the two. Hillary Clinton and Tim Walz are for 4 more years of Barack Obama policies that are hurting the country. They're going to stack the Supreme Court with radicals. They're going to remove your individual right to keep and bear arms and take away your other liberties. Donald Trump and myself stand for big bold reform in Washington to take the power from the Washington politicians, the bureaucrats, and the interest groups and send it back to you in the states. And then we're going to put people on the Supreme Court who are going to support the policies to defend your God-given rights. That's what we stand for. We're running hard. We need your help. We can advertise $300,000, $400,000 for these last few weeks, last 8 weeks or so. We'll win this race because people don't like what's going on in our country. They don't like Walz's record. And we have solutions that are going to work for the folks. I appreciate your time. Thanks for your support. It's wonderful to be here.